Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. My name is Cedric and today is Friday, day 2 of the Brussels Beer Project Advent Calendar. We are counting down to Christmas again. As I said yesterday, I am very curious as to what they have in store for us. We've already established that number 2 are the birdies here. So let's see what's behind door number 2. It's a can. Of course, that can mean anything. It is rather stuck. Let's pry it out. I think that's the only downside of this format, is that the holes and the grids don't actually completely align. TRPCL sour, tropical sour. Again, as we are used from Brussels Beer Project, a nice simple can. Brussels Beer Project, alcohol 5.5%, ABV, lychee and aronia sour. Drink fresh. Let's see. Beer Project is about pushing taste to new boundaries and pushing ourselves out of the status quo. Forgot an S there. Experimenting is key to our DNA and the point is to share the fun of playing with beer. Yeah, it is, absolutely. Malts. Pilsner malt, malted wheat, oat flakes and Munich malt. Hops, Challenger. Yeast, Philly sour and Belle Saison. And as extra, lychee and aronia added. Okay. I am gonna look a few things up and I'll see you guys here in a few minutes. Okay? Alright, so I quickly ran to my computer and I looked a few things up because I am intrigued by the two yeasts that are on here. The Philly sour and the Belle Saison. It is a sour, but I am intrigued by the Saison because as we've talked about in a previous video, Saison yeasts are sort of a myth, and I'm not familiar with aronia. Apparently aronia is chokeberry, or in Dutch the appelbes. Again, I'm not familiar with that either, but we will find that out in a minute. Lychee, I did know, and I also looked up the tropical sour on the Brussels Beer Project website, where they state new experiment to make it a fruity spring. So it's actually a spring beer. Of course, it's a fruity sour, so what would you expect? It's very springy, very summery. Aronia, the chokeberry, apparently is family of roses, the flower. And I did look into the yeast strains. Now, what did I find out? The Philly sour is a unique species of Laccancea isolated in nature by the University of Philadelphia, the University of Sciences of Philadelphia. So Philly sour, because it's best suited to make sours, gose, all those American lambic style, or either way lambic style. Why? Because during fermentation it produces ethanol as well as quite the amount of lactic acid, so it's a rather sour fermentation. I did find the taste wheel and I will put it up here. So the other yeast strain, the Belle Saison, sounds fantastic to me, but you know that I love saisons, is a Diastaticus strain, a very classic strain, already well known, and is perfectly suited for Belgian ale styles or farmhouse ales. Apparently it is known for its fruity, spicy and refreshing characteristics, and it accentuates hop flavors, and that's one thing that I actually took away from reading about it. That's all I found. Well, actually I stopped looking after I found that. So let's see how this goes. I am very curious. Clean it up a bit there. Today I did think about bringing a glass. Ooh. Okay, so for the first time in 82, 83 videos, I've tasted a beer before I've seen it. Nice color, but I'm gonna clean this up before we go along. Of course, that is what you get when you accidentally shake your advent calendar violently, and it brings a bit of color to the table, literally. Okay, so let's try that again. It absolutely does have a lot of berry in there. I don't smell any of the lychee or anything else. No yeast, no hops. It smells a lot like black currant. Of course, I think chokeberry might resemble blackcurrant a bit. I do know that they have black and red varieties and some more. I did see that on the website they call this a deep red sour, and I can back that. Now, I am not the biggest fan of berries, so let's see how this goes. This is a very, very dense color. A very deep red indeed, quite dark even. So let's see. Can I light this? Also very, very misty, very hazy. Now the berry smells, the berry scent is very, very dominant. Lovely pink foam, by the way. It is indeed extremely refreshing, and I do get the lactic acid. It is quite sour. It's not vinegar, it is lactic. It is soft sour, it is balanced sour. Indeed, very, very refreshing. A very thin mouthfeel, whereas yesterday we had a very full mouthfeel. This is quite thin. This is also the exact opposite of yesterday. Yesterday was bitter and dry. Today is refreshing and sour. Yesterday was very full. Today is very thin, very fruity. I might get some lychee in there when I go looking for it, but that would not be the first thing that springs to mind. I do think that if they wouldn't have added the lychee, it might have been even more sour. So Okay. Right off the bat, I can tell you that this is not my cup of tea. It is a beautiful beer. It's just not for me. But I don't think that I have anything negative to say about this. Except that maybe it's a bit too thin and the berries are on the dominant side. I don't get a lot of esters from the yeast. I don't get a lot of hops in there. So, of course, I am not familiar with the Challenger hop. So I'm not entirely sure what to look for. I'm trying to warm this up a bit to see if more aroma will come out. But I do just think that it's not very balanced and they went a bit heavy on the berries. On the other hand, it is nice, and if you like this blackcurrant or berry taste, I would put it right up there with some of the Lindemann's lambics, maybe. A bit more on the sour side, of course. Lindemann's tends to make their lambics a bit sweeter. I do like the smell. I would have this with yogurt and oats in the morning. Yeah. I'm actually wondering, and I'm not critiquing this, this is a genuine question that I have. How would this be if the Belle Saison yeast wouldn't have been added? Because I do get the lactic acid and the stone fruit that the Philly sour also produces. So I get the acidity, I get the stone fruit, but even when I go looking for it, I don't get many characteristics from the Belle Saison yeast. So does that mean that without the Belle Saison it would be even more acidic? Just like I expect that without the lychee it would be more sour? Or might this be a gimmick? I'm not entirely sure. Would they have tried without the Belle Saison? I always wonder what went into the thought process and the development process of beers like this or any other. I am still in love with the color though. The foam dissipated quite quickly, but this is in fact a beer that doesn't ask for a large head of foam. It's like a lambic, it's like a goose, it's a sour. One thing I have to give this beer is the carbonation. You don't see a lot, well, you don't see a lot in general, but there is quite a bit of carbonation in there. It's just such tiny bubbles. Which is quite pleasant. Okay. Of course, yesterday I forgot to rate Ken But since it ticked like all my boxes, I think I should give Ken 7.5, 8. And I think I'm gonna give this like a 2.5. It's passed. I mean 2.5 for 5, so 5 for 10. It's passed, but it's okay. Doesn't make me warm. Anywho, I'm gonna leave it at that as usual. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up. If you want to see more, subscribe, hit the bell icon. You'll get notified when I upload something, which will be one a day for the next 22 days. And then I still have 1 week to get into the winter beers and yeah, to taste that old Rasputin. So, cheers you guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow with number 3, which is, yeah, somewhere over there.